غريب مظلوم ذبيح ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم سادتي فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. Before reciting this initial musibah at the beginning of this lecture, I would like to mention a short story so that we know what I am reciting. One of the very famous poets of the contemporary times, by the name of Sayyid Haydar al-Hilli, he had a habit that every year Sayyid Haydar would write a beautiful qasida for the eulogizing and lamentation of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and Shuhada of Karbala, and he would go to the darih of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and he would recite it over there for the first time. And then all of the people who recite would normally hear it from him over there and copy it down from him and recite it. Now in one of the years, al-Marhum, he wrote a qasida that starts as Allah ya hamish shari'a أتقر وهي كذا مروعة, the end, until the end of the qasida. This was known as his Ayniyya qasida, al-qasida al-Ayniyya, by the fact that it ends by the qafiyah of Ayn, Maru'a, Sudu'a, until the end. So as he was going this year, he had written it the night before he had finished it, and now he was going the next day for ziyarah to Karbala for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam's, to recite it in the presence of Imam al-Hussein in the darih. As he was walking towards Karbala, all of a sudden, from one of the places, he sees a Bedouin Arab dressed with the dressing of the people who normally reside around the banks of the river Furat. So he looked like a Bedouin person, and as a result, this Bedouin person, he says salam to him, etc. Tells him, Salam alaikum ya Sayyid Haydar. Calls him by his name, but Sayyid Haydar at this point still, it doesn't click, nothing clicks in his mind. Tells him, recite according to the different narrations of this specific story, tells him, recite your Aini qasida for me. Or in other narrations, recite your qasida that starts with Allah ya hamish sharia. Now Sayyid Haydar at this point didn't think that he hasn't told this qasida to anybody up until then. How can this person know about it? But Sayyid Haydar, because of the fact that he had written this in qarid, that is to say in Fusha Arabic, it was not one of the colloquial poems, it was a fasih poem. He told him that it may be difficult for you to understand. The Arabic, the Bedouin person, he still insists and tells him, yes, Sayyid Haydar, recite it for me, maybe perhaps I'll understand. At that, Sayyid Haydar starts by reciting, and it's a long poem. As he is reciting, this Arabic, this Bedouin person is being affected, he's getting so emotional as Sayyid Haydar is reciting. And at that point, Sayyid Haydar reaches a specific part in the qasida. ماذا يهيجك إن صبرت لوقعة الطف الفظيعة أترى تجيء فجيعة بأمض من تلك الفجيعة حيث الحسين على الثرى خيل العدا طحنت ضلوعا ورضيعه بدم الوريد مخضب فاطلب رضيعا. I will translate it as I will recite this qasida. When he reaches this part, it's as if he's telling the Imam alayhi salam, as he's speaking with the Imam, the protector of Sharia is who? The 12th Imam alayhi salam. It's a form of complaint to the 12th Imam. Why are you still waiting? Why haven't you arisen for seeking justice for Imam al-Hussein? So this part, it says, what will stir you if you are not made to arise by the sheer mention of the uprising of the event, the sad tragedy of Karbala? Can there be an even bigger musibah or calamity? At that point, this Arab Bedouin person starts to strike his head, doing latam and weeping and mourning loudly. And then he says this line, Wallahi ya Sayyid Haidar, it's not in my hand. Sayyid Haidar, it's not in my hand. And as he was weeping, now Sayyid Haidar is noticing that the tears in his eyes are shining bright like pearls. At that point, Sayyid Haidar, it clicks in his mind. Who is this person who doesn't even know me? I haven't even met him. He knows my name. He knows me by face. He knew about this qasida even though I haven't told anybody about this qasida. And I'm reciting it and now he is responding it this way. This is actually a question to the 12th Imam alayhi salam. And he tells him it's not in my hand. At that point he understands this is the 12th Imam. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. And he starts to weep. And as he lowers his gaze and turns back up, nobody's there anymore. مات التصبر بانتظارك أيها المحيي الشريعة مات التصبر في انتظارك أيها المحيي الشريعة فانهض فما أبقى التحمل غير أحشاء جزوعا قد مزقت ثوب الأسى وشكت لواصلها القطيعا فالسيف إن به شفاء قلوب شيعتك الوجيعا كم ذا القعود ودينكم هدمت قواعده الرفيعة تنعى الفروع أصوله تنعى الفروع أصوله وأصوله تنعى فروعا فاشحاذ شباب له الأرواح مذعنة مطيعة واطلب به بدم القتيل بكربلاء في خير شيء هي في خير الشيعة ماذا يهيجك أن صبرت لوقعة الطف الفظيم هي أترى تجيء فجيعة تلك الفجيع بيام الضمن تلك الفجيعة حيث الحسين على الثرى خيل العدا طحنت ضلوعا قتلته آل أمية ضام إلى جنب الشريعة ورضيعه بدم الوريد مخضم فاطلوب رضيعا. Patience has perished awaiting you, longing for thee, O thou who shall revive Shariah's decree. Arise for what has forbearance left us now. Arise for what has forbearance left us now. Accept hearts in agony that break and bow. They have torn the cloak of sorrow they once wore, and mourning thy long disconnection evermore. We are mourning the ghaibah more and more. The justice alone can bring the healing due to the hearts of the grieving Shia, staunch and true. How long will this sitting last while your faith declines? Hey, its lofty pillars crushed beneath the hands beneath the signs. Its roots lament its broken branches, and its branches lament its roots. Then prepare your uprising to which all souls will submit. It will submit. And seek justice for the slayed one in Karbala the dear, with the host of your best Shia, O Imam our dear. What else would stir you if you hold still back? What else would stir you if you still hold back regarding the horrifying battle of Karbala? Can there ever be a calamity more bitter than the calamity of Karbala, where Hussein lied slaughtered on the ground as the enemy's horses trampled his chest and crushed his ribs. The Umayyads killed him while he was thirsty beside the water streams, but he was not allowed, and his infant baby was stained with blood of the vein. So arise and seek justice for his son. Rabab cries, O Zainab. Abdullah Ali al-Asghar. Abdullah, I want him here. He's my dear, I want to shower him with my compassion. My baby, I want to nurse him. Zainab tells her he cannot nurse anymore. Zainab tells him he cannot feed anymore. Rabab weeps, saying, then let me smell him once more and remove the arrow from his neck. If I could only pull it out, I would pull it out and burst in heartache. She let out her heart's cry and fell down in a swoon. This is the lisan al-hal of Rubab as they are leaving Karbala. She comes and mourns next to Zainab, blaming the fate of time, saying, look how Abdullah is now. From my heart he's weaned, I wonder how. When last I saw him, it feels so long. I have not seen him since yesterday. So how can I go and leave him? Go away without a farewell. All my hopes from him are severed. But still my heart desires this hour to see him once more and see his state. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. قد ورد عن سيد الشهداء صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أنه قال: إني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا، وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي، أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر، فمن قبلني بقبول الحق فالله أولى بالحق. To hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. In order to give some variation and learn from the many lessons that we can draw from Karbala, one of the lessons that we find from the thesis statement of the uprising of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, when he said the reason and the cause of his purpose, and I come to this specific point, the rest of the small speech yourself, all of you know. Imam alayhi salam says, so whoever accepts me on the basis of al-haq, of the truth, then Allah is more worthy of the truth. Here, I would like to focus our lecture today on the topic of al-haq. What is al-haq? What has it been defined as? And how can I distinguish haq, truth, and batil, falsehood, in my life as I live in the Western world, and what is my responsibility? With respect to truth, there are different definitions for it. One of them is that it is said that which exists. Something which exists. Al-haq is something which exists. It is something existential. Just like, for example, the rules that govern existence, the laws of physics, for example, etc. Gravity, all of these are real things that exist. On the other hand, batil, falsehood, is something that does not exist. However, there are people who claim it exists. Now, this in itself is a nuanced expression. Means that there is something small, very subtle over there. When I say that there are some people who claim that it exists, that means that not only the fact that it exists outside, but rather they may even ascribe some attributes to it. Like, for example, I can say that the truth, like, for example, the force of gravity exists, okay? Haq, something that exists. On the other hand, I go about, for example, giving a statement of falsehood by saying that, for example, imperialism is very good. Now, imperialism in itself over here, from one specific angle, it is the absence of justice. Because what am I doing? You as an imperialist, you're going to subjugate another people, a population of a different country, a nation, okay? But you're claiming that there is justice in your system. And you're describing it as being good. So you're claiming something about it. On the other hand, there is another definition which says that haqq is something that not only exists, but it must exist. It must exist. Like, for example, what? The system of justice. It's not only that we say that justice exists, no, justice must exist. In general, then, these two definitions or parts of the definition are there for haqq and batil. Number one, haqq is something that exists and must exist. Number two, batil, falsehood, is something that does not exist and it is claimed to exist and it has claimed descriptions and attributes and adjectives. But amongst the different examples of batil can also be, for example, when we lie about something. Imam Ali salamullahi alayhi, he says, when we are asking the Imam alayhi salam that the basis of the Holy Quran, what is it? Or rather, when he wants to explain that the Holy Quran is a guide towards the truth, he says, Kitabu Rabbikum fihi mubayyanan halaluhu wa haramuhu, or mubayyinan halaluhu wa haramuhu. حلاله وحرامه وفرائضه وفضائله. That the book of your Lord is amongst you, فيكم, and it is explaining مبينا حلاله وحرامه. It is explaining that which is halal from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that which is haram. Is it possible for us to come to know the truth when we are being entasked by following the truth? Is it something that we can distinguish? Now, this is where the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes upon us. Now, of course, just to give some context that why have I chosen this topic today? And what is its relation to our practical lives today? Today, as you know, we live in, for example, a Western society, correct? And at the same time, we may, to a certain extent, live maybe a life in which we do not get involved in the current affairs of the country as much as is necessary, sometimes which is not good in itself. But at least when it comes to happenings and occurrences in the different parts of the world, especially the Muslim, in the Muslim world, for example, or anywhere there are oppressed people, it is necessary for us to contemplate and to think about this and to even ask what is our responsibility with this respect, and for us to be able to distinguish that who is the true party and who is not. Sometimes the narrative, the sheer rhetoric, the sheer bombardment of propaganda against us with all of these different outlets of news, media, social media even sometimes, etc., the algorithms that even govern social media are so severe that it becomes difficult to distinguish who is in the truth and who is in the false. Anybody who even seeks their rights to oppose a subjugating system that is foreign to their country, whenever you see this, you will always find that the colonialist, imperialist power will immediately label them as terrorists. Immediately, they will label them as terrorists. This has always been the case. It's not you. You can go back to the times of the different prophets, ﷺ, and you find this in the Holy Quran, that they would say that the prophets and those who were following them, that these people are mufsideen. Imagine the prophets being described as being people who are corrupt and who want to cause mischief. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he explains, قد أوضح لكم سبيل الحق وأنا قد أوضح, the Holy Quran, sorry, it has explained to you the path of the truth, the path of the prophets, the path of believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it has enlightened for you its path. the different paths that lead to the truth. So either you become miserable by not following it, or you will inshallah end in eternal bliss for following the path of the truth. With this, we can come to understand that if I were to contemplate, or rather, if I were to ask that why do I have to think about this truth? What is its relevance? What is the relevance of the truth to me? I'm in school, I'm in university. What is knowing the truth? What is its relevance to me? Now again, as a concept I have explained to you, it is that which exists and that which must exist. Okay? Based on Quranic and based on logical human principles. Okay? On the other hand, now comes the matter of applying the truth. That is to say, finding examples of the truth outside in my life. This is something that depends on your situation. It depends on which specific field that you're talking about. Sometimes you may be talking about a research, right? Or a fact that did so and so truly discover as being the first human being who stepped on the new world, per se, quote unquote. And so we celebrate every year, for example, as Columbus Day. When he went over there, there were 100 million people living over there before him. So did he really discover it? Right? So this fact change in itself, it's something that brings the relevance of the truth to me, because I'm seeking the truth. With this being said, knowing the truth, first of all, it has innate value in itself. When you know the truth, it will enlighten you. You will be able to act. You will at least know your responsibility towards it. Number two, by knowing the truth, you will be able to fulfill not only your responsibility on your personal level, but your responsibility towards the society. And rather, you will be able to work with your community, with your society, to fulfill your social responsibilities towards the truth. Is it truly that immigrants are the only source of problems for the UK economy? Is it true? Right? Because currently, what's the media doing? They go over there in Dover, say, oh, these boats, these are the cause, these guys. Then why are they coming over them in boats? A really simple question. Many different countries have an asylum system whereby they offshore these applications to different parts of the world where there are people who are seeking asylum, and based on accepted applications, they bring them. Currently, right now, in our country, there is no manner in which you can apply for asylum when you are outside the UK land. Right? There isn't. We entered into a treaty after having, for 200-300 years, colonized such a big part of the world and looted everything and brought it back as if it belongs to us. And then, really strangely enough, we put it in the British Museum, say this all belongs to us. Okay? Now, we had created a problem for ourselves. So based on that, our social responsibility, what is our social responsibility towards this specific narrative? On the other hand, it's also amongst the things that knowing the truth will also help me is that I will be able to understand, because when I research about the truth, I will be able to understand that if I will go against it, I will also find out that there's going to be repercussions. By looking at those people who have gone against this truth, what has it led for them? What result has it led for them when they have denied and rejected the truth? So I will be able to save myself and those who are close to me from falling into such traps. In addition to that as well, it will also help me reach my own perfection. Right. Now, with that being said, by knowing the truth, amongst the questions that also come, right? Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. By knowing the truth, me as a human being, I will become enlightened. Today, if you go outside, and there is the case of Palestine and the injustice that is happening over there, the oppression. Today, alhamdulillah, with the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the miracle of some social media outlets, not all, we came to find out about the atrocities that happen and are continuing to happen over there in Palestine. We find that there is an awakening in the entire world, no matter what your religious or racial background is, or geographical, location. It doesn't matter where you're from. This has led to people working. This has led to people taking action. This has led to people thinking. When you contemplate about the truth, again, when I'm saying the truth, I do not only want it to sound very abstract. I want it to be really tangible in the sense that, like, say, for example, the case of Palestine. Let me take this example as an example of the truth. That is to say, to really believe or to really see that what is being committed over there is a sheer massacre. Now, whatever other words you want to term it as, or you do not want to term it as, or you want to defend, whatever, it doesn't matter. There is a massacre against innocents. Innocent people. Today what you find is that it is bringing people together, in addition to the fact that people are coming and they are bonding and they are thinking that through our connection with the truth, we are coming closer to each other, people from different walks of faith. And as a result, you find people's thinking is actually evolving. People are asking questions, whether they're youngsters, whether they're even old people. And this opens the door for a lot of really important human interaction about a lot of other topics as well, when you connect with one specific topic. Imam Ali salamullah alayhi, he says in one of his hadith, فَلَا تَنْفِرُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ نِفَارَ الصَّحِيحِ مِنَ الْأَجْرَبِ وَالْبَارِ مِنْ ذِي سَقَمْ. Or this saqam. Do not flee from the truth like the healthy ones. Sometimes the truth, even talking about Palestine, for example, has it not brought problems for a lot of people? Has it not brought a lot of difficulties for a lot of people? Yes, it has. But you cannot stand with falsehood at this point. You can't. And trust me, in just a few decades or a couple of centuries, you will find the fact that history and even the people of the future will be against the Zionist entity for what they are doing over there. And I'm not talking about the Muslims. I'm talking about the rest of the world. I'm talking about the rest of the world. Here, me and you sometimes, when we want to express our opinion, of course, within the limits, within the legal framework of our country, okay? But at the same time, the framework of the country allows us to do a lot in the legal bounds. If it brings difficulties to me, I shouldn't stop, because I need to put myself in the position of the people that are over there. If I were to be over there, would I not want my fellow human beings on the other, or not in my situation, to fight for me, to fight for my rights, to spread my cause? I would want that, correct? Man sawaka bi nafsih falam yadhlimk. Whoever considers for you to be equal to them has not oppressed you. So if they consider us to be equal to them and we consider them to be equal to us, we would not want that, if we were in the same position, for us to be forsaken by the world. Now, with that being said, Imam Ali alayhi salam says about this specific concept that sometimes bearing the truth is really difficult for people. And this is where people are tested today. You are tested vis-a-vis the truth, how you abide by the truth. So do not flee from the truth. Like the healthy ones, flee from the contagious. When you had COVID, for example, you remember, right? Somebody, you've got COVID. Oh, ya Allah, run away. Stay away from this guy. You know, say, stay a few meters away from. Then, unfortunately, you then had such people, and this was all going around. They say, listen, I'm not going to tell anybody that I've got COVID. I'll take my precaution, etc. But, you know, if I tell them, they will consider me to be like a zombie or whatever. They'll be running away from me. Khair. So do not consider, or rather do not flee from the truth in the manner that a person who is healthy flees from a person who is contagious. Or a person who has recovered from a disease, how he would flee from a person who still has the disease. And of course, if you were to go to Nahj al-Balagha, there is a lot that is actually pointed out with respect to this in the Holy Quran. But how can I distinguish? Sometimes haqq is extremely, extremely difficult to distinguish from falsehood. What is the truth from falsehood? I go and I look at the following traits. Is the thing that is in front of me, the certain principle that I want to hold to, or a certain fact, or a certain happening, is it something that is remaining? For example, about Palestine, it's been approximately 70 years. There is still the shouts of oppression and of apartheid. There's a two-tier citizenship system. But with that being said, this narrative of the Palestinian people that we are oppressed, was it something that just happened 1 or 2 days and then nobody talks about it anymore? No. So that means this is something that is continuous. Something that is continuous, like the message of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam and the oppression that he faced 1,400 years later on, we're still talking about it. This shows you that this was truth. So truth is something that is constant and that remains. It isn't something that is temporary and goes. Like, for example, you had different systems of either empires being created by subjugating other nations, and then those empires went away. This wasn't the truth. Or rather, even to be a bit more bold, even the system in which certain Muslim empires per se were built on. Yes, even certain Muslim empires. If you were to go that the Sultan, for example, and go back in history, you find all of this. This isn't in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to be very explicit. That you find the Sultan, his muftis, they give him permission that a Sultan is allowed to kill his brothers. Why? So that they don't fight him for the kingdom, for the rule. And when his son becomes the king, for example, the sons will fight with each other. The last one remaining will be the Sultan. This is the Khilafah of Rasulullah. This is the true Muslim state, Khilafah. Secondly, amongst the things that helps to distinguish is that the truth, this specific case, this specific issue, the oppression of the people of Palestine, how does it stand? How can I compare it to the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is a very, very clear distinguisher between falsehood and truth. That how does this issue hold when I compare it or I put it in front of Islam and the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Does it agree with the principles of Islam and the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or it doesn't? So this is the second criteria of distinguish haqq from batil. With respect to my akhirah, of course this is connected to how it lies or how it plays with respect to Islam and the message of Allah. But what does it mean and entail for my akhirah? Is this an issue that will have a good ending and result for me with respect to my akhirah or not? Standing with the oppressed, is it something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward me? Yes, it is. So with that being said, then I can come to understand that this is the truth. Here, respected mu'mineen, I would like to go to the message of Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, in which we try to probe that how does truth, or how was it manifested in the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and what effect did how truth manifests in his uprising, what effect did it have in his uprising? The fact that truth, how did truth play, or how was it related to his uprising, and what effect did that thing have with respect to the result of the uprising? Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One of the things that we see, the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, first of all, that it was built on truth, it was built on the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it aligned with the message of the Holy Prophet. It didn't have anything that was personal to the Imam alayhi salam. He did not want kingdom for himself for any material reasons. He truly wanted to revive Islam. As a result, divine will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has connected all pure hearts to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Today, go to the different parts of the world. I mentioned this before. I can show you mawakib by the Ahl Sunnah, mawakib by people from the Christian faith, mawakib by people who are Shias, etc., etc. People from all walks of life, they have a connection to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. I would advise you, when you go home, look at what different scholars of literature, I'm talking about scholars from those who studied French literature, Italian, German, English, others. What do they say about Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? And even non-Muslim Arabic literatures. Scholars of Arabic literature. What do they say? Go and read. And you will find. What do they say about Sayyidah Zainab salawatullahi wa salamu alayha? Secondly, this divine will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has put the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in our hearts in such a way that we spend our energies without feeling any tiredness for Imam Hussein alayhi salam's cause. It is such an emotional thing to us. This is how much Imam al-Hussein had melted in the truth that he was seeking. This is the amount of sincerity that he had. Today when we think about Karbala, alhamdulillah, for example, today the food was made by respect to Sayyid and the youth. Right? And alhamdulillah, they have been here for, since morning they have been here. Alhamdulillah, you find, some of them have just gone to refresh their wudu, but still, alhamdulillah, they're here. And they're continuing with utmost passion and love. One of the things to notice is that the people who follow the truth, their characteristics, their character, their traits are different. Their akhlaq are different. The epitome is that of Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. As I mentioned, sincerity, his moral traits, his compassion, his generosity, his bravery, his knowledge. When you have a person of truth in front of you and you want to make out whether this person is a truthful person, when you're watching the TV, anything is being discussed, correct? In any of these, for example, talk show programs or whatever, you've got people in the crowds talking about whatever the topic is. The person who is actually speaking the truth, you will find that that person will be able to articulate themselves with facts and debate in a really clear, logical manner. Whereas the other person who's talking rubbish, with all due respect, you'll find their speech to be incoherent, their arguments are all messed up, there is overgeneralization, there is lack of facts, lack of statistics, there's even lack of that human compassion. Imam al-Hussein, the one who was melted in the truth, was an embodiment of the truth. A continuation of what? A continuation of his father. Ali is with the truth and the truth is with Ali. And the truth goes with Ali wherever Ali goes. Hadith of the Holy Prophet. Paraphrase. And this in itself, the fact that he was a divine human being, he was a miraculous, he was an imam. You find that amongst the things that also that translated and manifested from him in order for the haqq, its message, its arguments to continue, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, not only in his life, even after his shahada, the head is speaking. The head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was reciting verses from Surah Al-Kahf and from other parts of the Holy Quran. Whether it was in Kufa, whether it was in Sawma'at al-Rahib, whether that was in a part of Lebanon or in some part between Turkey, southern Turkey and Syria, northern Iraq, or in other parts, whether it was in Qin-Nisreen, etc. Imam alayhi salam is speaking with the person. This is the haqq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the result makes you connected and love the person who follows the truth. Now with that, one lesson that we can learn from this in our lives today, that I have to be a person of principles. My principles, I get them from the best of places, the Holy Quran, the Hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And I read the books of akhlaq. And I try to embody it in terms of truthfulness, in terms of my manners with everyone, parents, family, etc. When it comes, for example, to matters like, for example, my career, my education, I have to try my utmost effort to always excel and be the best. When you want to be a Shia of Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, it is your job that you don't slack about. Your job is to strive to always be the best. Other people may have the liberty to just do a little bit or whatever they want. Khair. There are very few of us. On the other hand, the Imam alayhi salam is in ghaibah. If you're going to slack around and another one is going to slack around as well, and other Shias as well, he's going to say, okay, this generation is not for me. I'll wait for people who are more serious. Respected mu'mineen, as we go back to Karbala, this is the final night before the night of Ashura, before the day of Ashura. As Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad had written to Umar ibn Sa'd that if Hussein does not accept to give bay'ah to Yazid, kill him. And if you are to kill him, that I want you to trample on his chest with the horses. Ma'adallah. At that, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes to find this out, he tells Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam that, "Oh Abu al-Fadl, I want you to go them to seek respite for just one night so that we can spend it in ibadah." Here, Imam Ali is Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. He's saying, as he was sick at that time, that I was sitting in my tent, I was sitting in that night in which, the morning of which my father was martyred. My aunt Zainab alayhi salam was assisting me, she was taking care of me in my sickness. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he secluded himself with John, the servant of Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, who was now in the service of Imam Hussein, as he was sharpening his sword, and Imam Hussein was repeating the words, the verses, "Ya dahru uffin laka min khalili, kam laka bil ishraqi wal asili." That, "O time, what a bad friend you are. How many times have you come in mornings and in days?" And the rest of the poem. At that, as he repeated it a few times, Imam Zain al-Abidin says that I came to understand that my father was saying that tomorrow he's going to be martyred. As the Imam alayhi salam says this, Imam Hussein, Imam Zain al-Abidin says, my eyes started to tear and my throat started to become, I started to feel that I want to weep, I want to cry. When Zainab alayhi salam came to understand that now Imam Hussein is saying that the bala has come, she started to become very saddened. And as she was doing so, she said, وَثَكْلَاهَ لَيْتَ الْمَوْتَ أَعْدَمَنِ الْحَيَاةِ الْيَوْمَ مَاتَ جَدِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ الْيَوْمَ مَاتَتْ أُمِّي فَاطِمَةَ وَأَبِي وَأَخِي الْحَسَنِ يَا خَلِيفَةَ الْمَاضِينَ وَثَمَالَ الْبَاقِينَ. That, oh, the relief and the leader, the relief of those who have passed and the leader of those who remain. Today, my grandfather passed away. Today it is that my father passed away, and my mother, and my brother Al-Hassan. Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam turns towards his sister and he tells her that, oh, my sister, have patience. Imam Al-Hussein's eyes start to tear. Sayyidah Zainab tells him that, oh, my brother, it is as if you are forcing yourself to be patient, and that is even more difficult for me. Imam Al-Hussein comes to his sister and he tells her, Ya ukhta, اتق الله وتعزي بعزاء الله. That, oh, my sister, be God conscious and seek relief in consolation from Allah, and know that the people of the earth will all die, and the people of the heavens will not remain, and nothing except Allah subhanahu will remain. At that, Imam Al-Hussein then goes to his ashab. Imam tells them to come together because he was afraid that the people, that the Yazidi army may attack them. He tells them, bring your tents closer to each other. Imam Al-Hussein goes back to his tent and he spends it in salah, in istighfar. Nafi' bin Hilal was one of the most beloved ashab of Imam. When Imam was in danger, Nafi' would always be close to him, taking care of him. He went outside the hills, he went outside the camp of Imam Al-Hussein to look towards the hills if there were any enemies hidden over there in ambush. Imam Al-Hussein, at that, he comes out and he asks him why he had gone. He tells him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, afza'ni khurujuka ila jihati mu'askar hadha at-taghi. Or rather, Imam Al-Hussein had gone out. Imam Al-Hussein tells him that I wanted to see these hills. Nafi' was concerned. He had gone behind the Imam alayhi salam. Imam then takes a hold of the hand of Nafi' and he tells him, Wallah, ya Nafi', this is the promise of Allah. Is it not better for you to take path from these hills and escape and save your life? Nafi' falls down to the feet of Imam Al-Hussein and starts to kiss them. And he says, may my mother lose me, Ya Sayyid al-Shuhada, Ya Aba Abdullah. That, oh, Imam Al-Hussein, I will never leave you. I will never leave you alone to your fate. Imam Al-Hussein goes to the tent of Sayyidah Zainab. As Nafi' was standing outside, he heard Sayyidah Zainab telling her brother Imam al-Hussein, هل استعلمت من أصحابك نياتهم? Have you interrogated and asked your ashab what are their intentions? Because I am afraid that they will hand you over to Umar ibn Sa'ad when there is an attack. Imam al-Hussein tells her that, oh my sister, I have tested them all, and none except the most bravest are there. These are the true brave warriors and fighters. These people are more comfortable with death than a young child in his mother's lap. Nafi' overheard this. He feels that Sayyidah Zainab is afraid that they were going to hand over Imam al-Hussein. What does Nafi' do? Nafi' goes to Habib ibn Madahir, Sheikh al-Ansar, and he tells him, oh Habib, this is what Zainab is afraid of. That, oh, ya Habib, what do we do? Habib tells them that, oh Nafi', if it was not that we are still waiting for the order and command of Imam al-Hussein, I would have gone to the battlefield and faced these cursed people today. Habib tells him, let us go, us as the ashab, and let us give words of comfort to our lady Zainab. Habib tells the ashab, ya ashab al-hamiyya waluyuth al-kariha. At that, all of them, that, oh people of Hamiyya, oh the valiant, oh the lions of battle, and they all come out. They all come out like lions and answer Habib's call. They go to Banu Hashim. Habib tells Banu Hashim, you go inside. My talk is just with the ashab, not with the family, our masters. He tells his ashab, oh ashab, this is what Zainab is saying. They go towards the tent of Zainab, Habib and his ashab. Habib tells Sayyidah Zainab from outside the tent that, oh women folk of Rasulullah, these are the swords of the youth who protect you. They have promised to never sheathe them except in the necks of those people who want to harm you. And we are here to protect you. At that, the women folk, they come out as they are weeping, and they tell the ashab, أيها الطيبون, O good people, defend the daughters of Rasulullah and of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. As Sayyidah Zainab comes to hear this, as Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam comes to hear this, she comes outside and she speaks with Habib, and she tells Habib that I give you a wasiyah to protect this gharib, to protect al-Hussein and take care of him, to be there at his aid. Abu al-Fadl Abbas hears over, and he says that, Ya Banu Hashim, the ashab who are not related are coming to show their loyalty. Where are we? At that, Al-Abbas alayhi salam, he comes with Banu Hashim, and they come out as well, and they also come to comfort Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. At that, when Sayyidah Zainab sees their number, all of them together, she feels some consolation and some relief by seeing that Imam al-Hussein is not by himself. As they spend this night, in this state of ibadah, mu'mineen, now comes a very, very difficult musibah among the masa'ib of Sayyid al-Shuhada. I don't even know how to read this. I don't even know how to say this. It is narrated that when Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, rahmatullahi alayh, when Harmala bin Kahil was brought to Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, he tells, Al-Mukhtar asks Harmala, was it you who massacred and slaughtered Ali al-Asghar, Abdullah al-Radi'? Was it you who did so? He says, yes, it was me. Asks him that, how were you able to do so? Did your heart not soften? Did your heart not break that you were doing so to a young baby? At that, Harmala says, it was a habit of Imam al-Hussein that when he wanted a practice of Imam Hussein, that when he wanted to attack the army, he would come on a horse. But when he wanted to come and speak and admonish them and advise them, he would come on a camel. This time, as he had come, he had come walking. It is said that he spoke. He had something that was with him. He was carrying something that was with him. So he came to the left side of the army, the right side of the army, and spoke to them, but they didn't listen. Then with the left side, they didn't listen. Then he came to the middle part of the army, and he told them, Ya Qawm, O people, you have killed my ashab. You have killed my brothers, my Ahl al-Bayt. If the elder are guilty, what is the sin of the young? At that he brings out Ali al-Asghar, Abdullah al-Radi'. He tells them, this is my son, a 6-month-old baby, Abdullah Ali al-Asghar. Ali al-Asghar doesn't have anything to drink and he is thirsty. His mother does not have any milk because of hunger and thirst. I ask you to give the boy, the baby, some water to drink. At that point, the army over here started to come into a commotion, and they started to argue and fight with each other. Some of them were saying, don't give them anything to drink. And some of them were saying that no, if the elder people, they are the sinful, then what is the sin of the young? At that, Umar ibn Sa'ad, he gives a command to Harmala, A'zam Allah lakum al-ajr, and he says, Ya Harmala, iqta' niza' al-qawm. Oh Harmala, and this dispute, this quarrel between the people. Harmala, at this point, what does he do? He takes an arrow and he puts it in his bow, and he asks Umar ibn Sa'ad, who should I strike, the father or the baby? At that, Umar ibn Sa'ad says the baby. It says, Harmala said, that I put the arrow into the bowstring, and over here still my heart did not feel any softness. Then I looked at the boy where I would hit him, the baby. All of a sudden, the wind, it blew the cover of the baby's cloth, and I could see its neck, which was shining. At that point, I aimed, A'zam Allah lakum al-ajr. As Imam was holding this baby, Harmala fires that arrow. It strikes the neck of Ali al-Asghar. Harmala says, even though it struck his neck, my heart did not feel any compassion. But when the baby felt the heat of the arrow, it removed out his hands and he hugged his father. It hugged his father, and it started to shake like a slaughtered bird. It says that this is where I felt compassion and softness and sadness in my heart. Hussein gathers the blood in his hand. He gathers the blood in his hand and he puts it on his face and throws it towards the sky. For you, Ali Asghar, my eyelids have been torn with weeping, and the arrow on your neck fell on my heart and broke it. To kill the child, O Harmala, who ordered you and gave you a verdict. O Harmala, who gave you the order and the verdict. O Harmala, who gave you the order and verdict. O Harmala, what fight did you have with him? O Harmala, what fight did you have with him? Imam al-Hussein comes back to the camp at that Sayyidah Sakina. She comes towards her father. She tells her father, oh father, maybe you got some water for my brother Al-Ali al-Asghar. Please, if you can give us some water. Imam al-Hussein brings out Ali al-Asghar from under his cloak and he gives him to his sister, and he tells her that, oh Sakina, look at your brother having been slaughtered from one side of his neck to the other. There is no blame in killing a man. This is a poem, not literal. There is no blame in killing a man, however, for killing a baby, the conscience is surely to blame. Hussein asked for water to be given to his son, though he was met with arrows from the enemy. Though he was met with arrows from the enemy. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
دار نیامد ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد سقای حسین علمدار نیامد از خیمه رسد و آتشا از لب طفلان از خیمه رسد و آتشا از لب طفلان در علقمه شد کشته عمو با لب عطشان دستی که زده بوسه بران ساقی کوثر با نیزه و شمشیر جدا گشته ز پیکر ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد علمدار علمدار سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد رخصت بده از داغ شقایق بنویسم از بغض گلوگیر دقایق بنویسم میخواهم از آن ساقی عاشق بنویسم نم نم به خروشایم و حق حق بنویسم دلخون شد و از معرکه دلدار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد سقای حسین سید و سالار سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد علمدار نیامد علمدار نیامد در هر قدمت هر نفست جلوه ذات است در هر قدمت هر نفست جلوه ذات است وصف تو فراتر ز شعور کلمات است در حسرت لبهای تو لبهای فرات است در حسرت لبهای تو لبهای فرات است عالم همه از این همه ایثار تو مات است. از علقمه با دیده خونبار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، ای اهل حرم میر و علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد. سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، سقای حسین سید و سالار نیامد، علمدار نیامد، علمدار نیامد.
اللهم صل على يا حسين ومصابه، ولأجل العين سجابه، وزينب تون وتنادي، وخويا ويا روحي الهادي، وآيا حسين ومصابه، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله. نزف دمك نزف دمك، صحت يمك يا بعد امك. قرب نحبي صحف قلبي كتبت اسمك، خطف لوني على عيوني انطبع رسمك. ترى والي مهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله. طعت ظني ورحت مني وغبت عني، جعت روحي ارتفع نوحي كثر وني. دمعي يجري ما كنت ادري بغرب لني، اختلف حالي المهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله. جف سنيني تواسيني وتباريني، كنت عندي بدر سعدي وتناغيني. غبت وصفه وانا بلهفه شبحت عيني، تهيالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله، وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله. سهم صابك دم صوابك صف أخضابك قلبي يلهب أحن وانهب أحن وانحب على غيابك سهر ليلي فقد حيلي على مصابك صف قبالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله سحنت الهم صرت ألهم مرار وسام هدم صرحي نزف جرحي ولا يلتم شدت عنك شفت لنك خضيب بدم دمع هالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله وسفتالي لي يا عبد الله غصن ودك ذبل بعدك عقب فقدك قرب وعدي جمر كبدي مثل كبدك كبدي يسعر كبدي يسعر بعد ما اقدر اهز مهدك يا هالغالي المهد خالي يا هالغالي المهد خالي يا عبد الله وسفتالي المهد خالي يا عبد الله وسفتالي مهد خالي يا عبد الله يا واليها يا واليها قوم الزينب يا واليها يا واليها يا واليها قوم الزينب يا واليها يا العايف زينب وحدها محتارة بعيلة وما عدها وما حد يحسين يساعدها وما حد يحسين يساعدها ليش بهالحالة مخليها يا واليها يا واليها قوم الزينب يا واليها يا واليها يا واليها قوم الزينب يا واليها انهض وتصور حالتها وعاين ذلتها وغربتها من عقبك حرقوا خيمتها يا حسين وأطفالك بيها يا واليها يا واليها زينب يا واليها يا واليها يا واليها قوم الزينب يا واليها مأجورين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أبي الفضل العباس والحوراء زينب ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونتوجه إليك بوجهك الكريم ورحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء يا الله وبأحب الخلق إليك نبيك محمد وآل بيت نبيك. اللهم لا تدع مريضا إلا شافيته ولا فقيرا إلا أغنيته ولا غائبا إلا وعدته وحفظته يا رب العالمين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم وفقنا لما يرضيك، اجعل عواقب أمورنا إلى خير في الدنيا والآخرة يا الله. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات ومن مات على الإيمان والعلماء والشهداء، وإلى أرواح المشرفين على هذا المكان المبارك والمشاركين والحضور، وإلى أرواح أمواتهم نهدي الجميع ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أبد والله ما ننسى حسينا، أبد والله ما ننسى حسينا، أبد والله ما ننسى حسينا. أبد والله ما ننسى حسينا 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 أبد والله ما ننسى حسينا.
أحسنت.
The adhan is now, inshallah, brothers and sisters. If anyone needs to renew their wudu, please do so now, inshallah. We have to start very shortly, inshallah. The adhan has gone, so we'll start shortly. Jazakallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.